This is what we got. Cooked this up for you. Just going to let you look at it, see if you like it. So the blue here is the basket. What I measured should be relatively pretty close to what it is. And then you can see that this would be kind of what it looks like. So I've tried to keep it as light as possible, thin as possible, but I also want it to look like, in case the, I don't know, inspectors or whoever is there, I want them to feel confident that it's not junky, and whoever is on there. I want it to be strong so nothing happens. But I think this will look good. So it'll actually hang lower than the basket. And then you can see these guys are 6 foot tall. So if you're in the basket, so in order to operate it, the basket will float a little bit off the ground, and then, crews can help load it here and it'll hang down. And then I didn't want it too high up. So I figured this is, for the end's the biggest one. So I took the end, this is the biggest letter. So this is about as tall as the guys. So that way they can kind of hold it. They can see what's going on, but it doesn't hang down too low, but it also doesn't go too high. If you want to adjust this, talk to me. We can make it higher. We can bring this down. But I figured the basket will just operate above the ground, and then that's where we are there. So the idea is that it'll be longer and wider than the widest letter. So that's the N. And so the blue, we've got 1.5 inch square tube. And then I have just one pieces of 1x just to get the ladder going, just for fab to burn this together. And then the 1.5 inch will slot in to the actual quarter, and then they can burn it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tray. I'm keeping it as light as possible. It's 063. So it's going to be a 2x tray that goes like this. The letters are going to be about 8 inches deep. So this gives you a couple extra inches. And then I had the 1/4 inch J hook up, so that way it's strong. So if anything happens, this can't just bend and kick out. This will have to actually literally go up and over that, or it's not going to break 1/4 inch. So the 1/4 inch goes all the way around. And then I have a piece of 1.5 inches to support that tray underneath the whole thing. So, and then these guys will stick out a few inches on each side just to make it look like, hey, we know what we're doing. So the idea is that it's going to come on, it's going to hook to the top, and then it's going to have this guy here that 5/16 riv nuts will complete, and you can bolt this together. You slide it up and lock it, and then you bolt it. So that way this thing is bolted to the top. I didn't want to have any issues of fitment, so I have some clearance, but it will hook the bottom bar or the middle bar there. So that way it's like, just extra security, and then it's going to bonk and rest against that shell that wraps around. That's 1/8 inch aluminum. So it's just going to bonk against that. And then I tried to make it as thin as possible, trying to keep weight, And then all of the letters have, this is a top view of that letter there. So all of the mounts have that hole, like we discussed. And technically you could lift the letter by this, but, obviously it doesn't work because the overhang is going to be there. So, so what we decided was you could do like a ratchet strap, come across, come through the notch here. So you could hook that hook there, come through the notch, and then bring it back to one of the bars, either to this bar here, or I figured, I don't know the distance, that's not the exact distance, but you could come across and hook to the back. That way, the letter's not going anywhere. And then I made these universal, so every letter has a hole on every mount. So you could hit this one and hit that one if you want, and you could bring ratchet strap from there around and hook it to here. Just make it look like to the inspectors or whoever's watching that it's really secure. It shouldn't go anywhere. So you should be able to nail these down to several points to make them secure. So that's it. Now, as far as weight, I tried to keep it as thin as possible, but also look substantial. So again, it looks good. So 53 pounds is the best I could do. We've only got 21 pounds of 1.5 inches. I only have 5 pounds of 1x1. And, again, I tried to keep the 1/4 inch to a minimum. And then the 063 is only about 7 pounds. So once you add it all together, that's where we're at. Not sure how much these are going to weigh. We have that new scale. Once we get this built and complete, if we want to take the time, you can lift it with a forklift in the parking lot. We can use the new scale, see how much this thing weighs, but throw some straps under it or something and lift it. But otherwise, that's what I got. It'll just float off the ground, and then guys on the ground can help load it, and then homies in the basket can take it up. So that's kind of what I see. If you have any other ideas or anything, or if you want to make this shorter, I tried to keep it to where, it's about as high as the guy. So that way you can see over it and stuff, but it's not too tall. So, but if you want to bring it up or bring it down, it's up to you. I can change whatever. So it's not going into production right this second. So if if you have anything, hit me up, otherwise, but if you like it, that's it.